Hi, I'm Teja Gerken with Peghead Nation, and I'm here with a new Taylor Builder's Edition 517e. This guitar is part of Taylor's brand new Grand Pacific line of instruments, which introduces a new body shape for Taylor, the Grand Pacific, or GP as it will be called. It's really a new body that is like nothing that Taylor's ever done before. It's a little bit like a slope shoulder, but not quite. It's not really a copy of anything. And it also introduces a new voice for Taylor. It's really kind of a different tonality than you're used to from Taylor, or that you might expect from a Taylor guitar. And of course, these are designed by Taylor's Andy Powers. And you may have seen a video that I recorded with Andy during a trip to Nashville several months ago, where we kind of talk about the overall background and design of these guitars as well as playing them together. But I wanted to focus on this particular guitar for this demo right here. So the Grand Pacifics are really the first Taylors that are built from the ground up with Taylor's V-Class bracing in mind. The V-Class was introduced last year and basically retrofitted to the existing Grand Auditorium body shape. But these guitars are built from the ground up with V-Class bracing in mind. And by V-Class bracing, of course, I mean Taylor's bracing that instead of the traditional X brace that most steel string guitars use, uses a pair of braces that kind of start at each side of the sound hole and go down the side of the top, kind of creating a V shape to the tail block. There are a couple of tone bar type braces in the lower bout, and it's been a highly successful design for Taylor, even in the existing body shapes. But it's very cool to see Taylor coming out with this new guitar that's really built from the ground up with V-Class in mind. So the Grand Pacific 517e uses a Sitka spruce top, and it's a torrefied top, so it's been toasted, as Andy says. It's basically a heat treatment that simulates aging in a way and really creates more of a broken-in tonality in the top. The back and sides of this guitar are made from mahogany. The neck is also mahogany, ebony fingerboard and bridge. And you will notice that the bridge, while definitely looking like a Taylor bridge, is a new design. It kind of has more rounded edges than the traditional Taylor bridge would have. You still think it's Taylor, which of course it is, but it's a very nice new design that I happen to like a lot, with these kind of more rounded corners and just a slightly different footprint all around. The guitar uses Taylor's silent finish, which we've seen on some other Builder's Edition guitars, and it's a finish that's kind of in between a traditional gloss finish and a satin finish. I think it's really quite beautiful, and it's called silent because it creates a little bit less noise as you might rub against it or have your arm against it than some other finishes would, which is quite desirable if you're playing in the recording studio and you're trying to not have squeaks or little sounds like that. In this case, of course, the top is it's kind of a sunburst, and the guitar is also available with a natural finish. I think this particular finish is really quite beautiful on this instrument. The guitar also has the rounded edges, which we've also seen on some Builder's Edition. So rather than having the really square, pointy binding, this is slightly rounded, and it's very comfortable both on your arm, your picking hand arm, as well as on your leg where you're resting the guitar. So I think that's a very cool design. It's got wooden binding, simple kind of two-line purfling on here as well. Very simple wooden rosette. And overall, the appointments kind of go in line with this new tonality and overall kind of character of the guitar that Taylor is going for with this, which is really more of a kind of a rounded, I hesitate to say vintage kind of tone, but it's definitely going more into that direction of having the more rounded, open kind of a tone than the bright, very defined voice that Taylor has been known for over the years, which is a great voice, but it's really nice to see Taylor branching out into a guitar that players who may be more into a traditional flat picking backup kind of a role of a guitar and just looking for a different voice might find attractive. And so in that light, let's also listen to Peghead Nation's Scott Nygaard playing the guitar with a flat pick. So as you can tell by Scott playing this guitar, it definitely leans into that kind of traditional dreadnought territory in being played with a flat pick. Very different from the way I was playing it earlier in dadgat tuning in fingerstyle, which really shows the versatility of this guitar, which is really something that Andy Powers was striving for in designing these. Now the neck design is also different from other Taylors in that it uses what Taylor calls a compound carve on the back, and that's a very interesting design in that up here in the first position, maybe up to about the 5th fret, the guitar has ever so the slightest hint of a V shape almost. It's slightly more vintage shape than a traditional Taylor neck would be, but as you move up the neck definitely has more of the traditional slim rounded feeling to it. It's not a radical drastic change, but it's definitely noticeable as you're moving your thumb across the back, and the way Andy explained it to me is that a lot of people tend to play more with their thumb wrapped around in the first position, but might move up with the thumb behind the neck in the upper position. It really makes sense. It's a very comfortable neck to play. Definitely leans more toward the modern neck, the traditional Taylor neck, than let's say a vintage V-neck, but it definitely gives a nod to the older designs, and I find it very comfortable. It also has sort of rounded edges on the fingerboard, so that the transition between the actual mahogany neck and the ebony fingerboard is virtually indistinguishable. It's right there, and it's really very comfortable and a cool new design for Taylor to come up with. On the peghead, the guitar uses Taylor's standard nickel tuners, nickel buttons as well, and on the face of the peghead we see a new little inlay design that I haven't seen on other Taylor guitars. One other thing about these Grand Pacifics that's different from most other Taylors these days is that these guitars are available with or without onboard electronics. And if you do choose to have the electronics, it uses Taylor's standard ES2 pickup system, which is installed in this guitar. Has the standard controls, volume and two-tone controls, with the pickup element mounted behind the saddle. Great sounding pickup system. Again, very versatile. We found that these pickups really convey each Taylor guitar's unique voice. So let's give this one a listen, plugged through a Fishman Loudbox Mini Charge amplifier. So that's the Taylor Builder's Edition 517e. This guitar is part of the very first batch of Grand Pacifics to come out. There's also a 717e with rosewood back and sides, as well as a 317e that's a much more affordable version of these guitars. It's also coming out, and ultimately the Grand Pacifics are going to replace the current Taylor dreadnoughts that we've been familiar with. So you can look forward to more of the demos of the new models here on Peghead Nation. These are going to show up at Taylor dealers anytime now, and I encourage you to check them out. And I hope you will also come back here to Peghead Nation to check out more of our gear demos. My name is Teja Gerken.